Hi, I'm Gregg with Guerrilla Fitness. Today we're going to coach the squat, more specifically the low bar back squat. This movement is for building power, strength, and size, one of the best movements in the gym that you can perform. So we want to really make some efforts here to make sure that these movements are getting coached right and our trainees are getting the most out of this movement. Today Sean's going to work with us and we're going to have him start off with a basic air squat. We're going to look for 4 things in this basic air squat, and the first being a nice tight lumbar spine. Second, we want to make sure the feet are planted well into the floor, heels driven firmly into the floor. Third, we want to make sure that knees are tracking over toes, and we also want to look for a good and solid depth here. The first thing I'm going to ask Sean to do is get his feet in a position where his heels are right under his shoulders and his toes are pointed out about 30 degrees. Okay. The toe position can vary from person to person depending on ankle flexibility, but for here and for general purpose, we're going to say 30 degrees. From this starting position, we're going to have Sean squat. And what I want him to do is send his hips back and down in order to get to the position we want. So we'll have Sean start with a squat here. Once you get down there, stay there. Once we're in this squat position, what I want him to do is take his elbows, stick them into his knees, and press out. From here, what we want is your knees tracking over the toes, and you'll see what that does over time through this little bit of a warm-up process is loosen Sean up so that he can drop nice and strong into that bottom position of the squat. The other thing you'll also notice is a nice tight and flat back, and you'll notice the back is slightly inclined forward at about 45 degrees. His gaze is nice and neutral towards the floor in front of him, which keeps a nice and neutral spine, right? We want to prohibit from staring up at the ceiling. You'll also notice that his feet are planted nice and firmly into the floor. You'll also notice in this bottom position that Sean is in a nice low squat where the hip crease is below his kneecap. So I'd ask him to kind of sink a little bit lower here for me. Right? And that's what we're going to always look for and accept nothing less in this squat, whether it's unloaded or loaded. People oftentimes getting a lot of weight on their back and all of a sudden the squats don't get low enough. So we will accept nothing less in this position. From here, we want him to drive up and out of the squat. Now, before I ask Sean to do so, what I want him to focus on is a hip drive. And the hip drive is going to come from this position here at the lower back. Focusing on this position and driving through the hip is going to have him signal the muscles that are necessary to drive him out of this squat position. And those muscles are your hamstring, your adductors, and your glutes. So that's where I want him to drive from. And you'll see him drive. Let's drive out of that squat from that low position and go. He'll drive up and out of that squat. Okay, let's see you get back down into that squat again for us, Sean. And again, nice, good position. Knees are out, weight is firmly planted into the floor, hips are below, and he'll drive hard out of the bottom. Go. Heels right under the hips, and let's have you squat down. Hips right back and down. Good, again, driving the knees out. Let's take your elbows and throw your elbows right into those knees and press them out for this good warm up. Good. From this position, nice tight back, and let's drive out of that bottom. Good, good hip drive. Back down again. Good, and again, pushing hard against my hand from this position. Ready, up. Good.